Did you give them my details?
Because you give me your details.
Right, that's against the law. It's a breach of my personal data. You should not have done that. You have not. You should not have done that.
Where we put misconduct on display, explore police and legal content, protect rights, and demand accountability. This episode is brought to us by Auditor Brett Chamberlain. Be sure to check the link below, subscribe to his channel, and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Brett brings us another explosive coin audit. After fueling up at a Sainsbury's petrol station, he tries to pay with pure silver Royal Mint coins, but staff refuse, call the police, and even toss his money around. When an officer arrives, she's completely out of her depth, fumbling the law and trampling Brett's rights so badly he has to contact his lawyer. The cop was so unprepared that even her own inspector later admits she'll have to be retrained. Before we get into today's video, I've got to give a massive shout out to T for joining RTA Extra. In today's day and age, when our freedoms are constantly under attack and authority is pushing harder than ever, it's vital that we stand together. By joining RTA Extra, you're not just unlocking exclusive bonus content, you're directly supporting this mission and helping me keep fighting for the public's voice to be heard. If you'd like to support too, hit that join button below. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into the video.
The coins as tender, obviously it is legal tender, you are correct, but as Sainsbury's we aren't obliged to take that because we are unable to bank that here, so unfortunately we will have to ask for some other means of payment to purchase that fuel.
What do you think legal tender actually means?
Pardon?
What do you think legal tender means?
I'm not into a debate about that. We're not accepting that as a tender here. It's a private company.
So you accept it as legal tender?
Yeah, but we can't bank that here. We don't have the means to bank it, so we don't accept it.
That's not my problem if you can't bank it, is it?
Well, yeah, but we don't accept it.
Well, you already have.
No, we haven't. You just put it down.
No, I gave it to the lady and she put it in her hand.
So, have you got any other means of payment?
That is my means of payment.
So, have you not got any other means?
But that is my means of payment.
Well, and we can't accept that means.
Brett highlights a key point when the worker actually takes the coins into her hand. The moment that happened, the debt was discharged. Payment had been made. Yes, stores can refuse Royal Mint coins if they set that policy before a transaction, but this wasn't that situation. The fuel was already in the car. The goods had been consumed, and that created a debt. Once a debt exists, legal tender must be accepted. You can't physically accept lawful payment and then pretend it doesn't count just because it's inconvenient to process. This is exactly where Sainsbury's, and later the police officer, went wrong. They confused what was convenient for them with what was lawful.
Got another means of payment, or do we just need to process it as a civil recovery issue?
Well, I've paid.
Well, we haven't accepted it.
You don't need to. Well, you have accepted it. Well, I haven't got the money, have I? You've got the money.
Well, we can give it back to you.
Well, I don't want it back. Are you a police officer?
Yes.
Right, can you identify yourself, please? What number are you?
1866, Bridgewater Police Station.
Mrs. Bradshaw, Miss Bradshaw.
That's correct. Miss.
Hi, Miss.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So they've asked for another form of payment because they can't accept this form. Have you got another form of payment on you?
That is my payment.
Right, okay, but that's not tender that they can accept.
Yes, it is.
They're asking for another form of
Yes,
payment.
it is. Let me explain something to you. So, when you was training to be a police officer at the beginning, you swore an oath, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what the first sentence of the oath was? It was to serve the Queen faithfully.
Correct.
Right. Now those coins are legal tender by royal proclamation of the Queen herself.
Okay.
Right. She's authorised within the legislation for the Royal Mint to create those coins, and when she proclaimed them to be legal tender, she said that they are legal tender for payment throughout the United Kingdom.
When the officer turns up, she simply parrots what Sainsbury's staff told her, as if their store policy outranks statute. Brett cuts straight through her nonsense by reminding her of the oath she swore the day she became a police officer, to serve the Crown faithfully. And that's the key point. These coins weren't just loose metal, they were declared legal tender by a royal proclamation under the Coinage Act 1971, Section 2. It is the Crown, through the Royal Mint, that decides what counts as legal tender in the UK. Brett wasn't quoting opinion. He was quoting the very authority she swore to uphold. By linking her oath to the proclamation, Brett exposed how ridiculous her stance really was.
They've allowed me to take goods, and then pay after the event. When the fuel goes into my vehicle, it becomes my fuel, but then it becomes a debt. Okay, now, the whole point of legal tender is that you can use it to pay a debt. As the Queen said, it's for payment throughout the United Kingdom. So they don't have to accept it, and if they was to give it back to me, it would negate the debt. Okay, it's not a police matter, it's a civil dispute. So really, you know, I mean, really, you should be telling them that it's a civil dispute.
I've just spoken to them and said about the document whereby you can come back and pay within 24 hours. They're saying that they don't want to accept the tender that you've given them. Is there an alternative method?
I'm not going to pay in any other way. I've already paid. Okay, and regarding that document, it's called a no means to pay document, isn't it? Right, I'm not filling out a no means to pay document when I have got the means to pay and I've paid. It's almost like an acceptance that I haven't got the means to pay when I have.
What the officer tried pushing onto Brett here was a no means to pay document. That's something fuel stations use when someone genuinely has no way of paying. For example, if you forgot your wallet, your card failed, or you've simply got nothing on you. You fill it in, admit you owe the money, and agree to return later to settle the debt. It's designed for people who literally have no means of payment at the time. But here's the problem. Brett did have means to pay. He had legal tender in his hand, backed by the Royal Mint. That completely takes the situation out of the no means to pay category. By trying to force him to fill in the form, the officer and Sainsbury's were effectively rewriting the facts, pretending a lawful payment didn't exist just because they didn't want to accept it.
No. Oh, yes you will, because I'm driving.
Sorry?
Yes you can, because I'm driving. Sorry. There you go. Although technically, parked up on private land. I'll be going soon, as soon as I've finished dealing with it.
Is that the money?
No, I don't want that. If you give it back, then it negates the debt. Did you see that, officer? Officer?
Yes,
I've paid and she's thrown the money back in.
They've asked for another form of
No,
payment.
she's thrown the money back in.
Okay.
Do you understand? Can you explain to them that that negates the debt? You can't pay someone and then they just throw the money back at you.
Do the paperwork.
Do you want to remind them of that?
So that's the details of the transaction, sir, okay?
Ma'am, can you show it to me? I paid it though.
Yeah, but it's unacceptable tender.
Officer, did you witness them give me the coins back, didn't you? When I have paid, yeah?
I've witnessed them give you the coins back. I've also witnessed them say that it's unacceptable tender. They're not willing to accept it. Therefore, they've asked for another form of payment. You haven't provided it, so that's hence why they're giving you the form.
Well, I don't want that.
When the officer asks Brett for his name while he's sitting in his car, he's legally obligated to provide it, and here's why. The Road Traffic Act 1988 requires any driver of a motor vehicle on a road or public place to provide their name and address when asked by a constable in uniform. That duty exists regardless of the context of the stop. So, in that moment, because Brett was behind the wheel, he had no choice but to comply. But what followed makes this moment even more questionable. Just a minute later, a Sainsbury's worker conveniently returns with a no means to pay document already filled out with Brett's details. Now remember, Brett never signed or consented to that form, and he'd made it crystal clear he was paying with legal tender. So here's the real kicker. How did they get his name in the first place?
Can you give these coins back to her, or can you keep them as evidence?
I'm not giving the coins back.
Well, you do realise it negates the debt anyway.
They haven't accepted
Well, I don't want that either, and that's nothing to do with me. I would like a receipt though, please.
You've been
I can't give you a receipt. The transaction's still outstanding, I'm afraid.
Do they have to give me a receipt for VAT purposes?
You haven't paid
I have
because
paid.
they haven't accepted the tender.
I have paid. They had it in their hand. They threw it back in the car.
Okay, but they
you
haven't
witnessed
accepted,
they threw it back.
They haven't accepted the tender, so therefore there isn't a
But
payment.
it's for, as I said to you earlier, the Queen said that
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
and you've obviously done your research.
Yeah.
What they're saying is it's not acceptable form of tender. They're not accepting it, therefore the debt hasn't been paid.
But you're an officer of the law, aren't you? You're a sergeant or just a PC?
PC. Hence why they've given you this, because they want you to pay in another acceptable form of tender.
So what do you think, if they said that they didn't want to accept a £50 note and threw the £50 notes back in, yeah, and then gave me that, would you think that's reasonable?
Well, you
Or £20
have to
notes.
offer another form of payment.
Brett flips the entire argument on its head with a sharp example. If someone hands over a £50 note and the store throws it back, then tries to force a no means to pay form, would anyone see that as fair? The logic is the same here. Once legal tender is offered, the debt is discharged. Refusing it isn't Brett's failure, it's theirs. Yet the officer still doesn't get it. Instead of recognizing the principle, she falls back on the same empty line that Brett should offer another form of payment. But that's not law, that's bending to a store's preference. By siding with convenience over legality, she turned a settled debt into a criminalized dispute. And that's where her whole position collapsed.
Had 50s and £20 notes, okay, and I went in there to pay them, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we don't accept those," right? Yeah, but even though this is theoretical, yeah, we don't accept those. And I say, "Well, I've paid, and I've left the money on the counter," and they came in from back in the car. Would you still be saying that it's up to me to pay in some other way?
But they just said that's an acceptable form of tender.
Yeah, but it's not down to them as to whether it's acceptable or not. It's down to the state.
They don't deem that acceptable.
It's down to the state. It's not for them to choose.
Well, they've served you with this. They haven't accepted payment.
I don't want that. That's nothing to do with me.
Right, okay, well, you've seen it. She's showing you it.
Yep.
Okay?
I don't know what it is. I don't even know what it is. What is it? I haven't signed it here. What is it? No means to pay form or something like that? How did they get my details? Did you give them my details?
Because you've given me your details.
Right, that's against the law. It's a breach of my personal data. You should not have done that.
Paid.
You have not. You should not have done that.
You haven't paid.
You know that you should not have done that.
You haven't.
You know that you should not have done that. You haven't paid. As the officer holds up the form, Brett instantly spots something outrageous. His name is already filled in. Straight away, he presses her. How did they get my details? Incredibly, she admits she gave them to the store, claiming it was fine because he had already provided them to her. That is a serious breach of GDPR and data protection law. The officer obtained Brett's personal details under the Road Traffic Act, powers that are strictly limited to road traffic matters. Passing that information to a private supermarket, in what is purely a civil dispute, is completely unlawful. Police officers have a duty to safeguard personal data, not hand it over to businesses whenever it suits. But instead of addressing this blatant breach, the officer just parrots the same line, "You haven't paid." This is a complete failure in duty, twisting police powers to serve a supermarket's interests while trampling over Brett's rights and violating GDPR. It's not just unprofessional, it's shocking misconduct.
Be lodging a complaint about this, and you know you're going to be in trouble for that, don't you? No.
You're not.
You know that you're going to be in trouble for that, don't you? Because you're not allowed to give them my personal details. Breach of my data. Police giving private corporation my details. They threw the money back in the car. We'll be lodging a complaint with 101, I think, straight away.
In his update, Brett reveals how the complaint played out, and it's jaw-dropping. The police responded saying the officer did nothing wrong, effectively endorsing behavior that encouraged a private corporation to refuse legal tender, throw it back in a customer's car, and misuse police powers to retrieve personal data under the Road Traffic Act. That's not doing nothing wrong. That's blurring the line between public authority and corporate convenience. T shows how a single officer's ignorance can be reinforced by an entire system more interested in defending itself than upholding the law. Brett hits the nail on the head when he points out how this turned into a fraudulent situation. By obtaining his details through the police, Sainsbury's could falsely complete a no means to pay form, effectively creating a contract he never agreed to. That's the real scandal here. The officer wasn't just misinformed. She enabled a corporation to exploit police powers to cover its own mistake. In his reply, Brett explains that while his lawyer confirmed he had a case, it wasn't worth pursuing in court. But the fallout was still significant. Her own inspector admitted she'd be retrained, which says everything. It's a quiet admission of fault hidden behind bureaucratic language. When an officer needs retraining after one encounter, it's proof the citizen knew the law better than the police enforcing it. What's truly wild about this encounter is how quickly a simple act of payment became a public lesson in policing gone wrong. Brett wasn't aggressive, evasive, or breaking any law. He was exercising a right that every citizen in this country has, the right to settle a debt using official legal tender. Yet what followed showed exactly how ill-prepared some officers are when faced with a member of the public who actually understands the law. From the start, the Sainsbury staff had no authority to refuse legal tender for an existing debt. But the situation escalated because a police officer, someone who should have known better, decided to side with a corporation over the law. Instead of de-escalating, she reinforced their ignorance, parroting corporate policy like it overrode national legislation. It's a perfect example of how modern policing too often caters to convenience, not justice. Brett, meanwhile, remained composed and razor-sharp. Every time the officer or staff tried to twist the narrative, he cut straight through it with facts. His question about the £50 note exposed the absurdity of their logic, that refusal after service isn't a business decision, it's a breach. By the end, the officer had no legal footing left, and her attempt to fix the situation only made it worse when she shared his personal details through the Road Traffic Act. That move alone was enough to open a serious complaint, and in the end, Brett walked away having done more than just defend himself. He educated thousands. His calm, intelligent approach turned what could have been a minor civil dispute into a masterclass on standing firm in the face of unlawful pressure. The message couldn't be clearer: know your rights, stand your ground, and never let someone with a badge or a company logo convince you that the law bends to their convenience. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me continue with my independent coverage. Also, don't forget to check out Brett Chamberlain. His channel is linked in the description. Show him some love. Thanks for watching.